The story begins at the dawn of robotics. The effervescent industry launches itself without conscience into the slow race of improving human performance by automated machines. Later, computer technological progress led to the creation of artificial intelligence, which was immediately integrated into cyborgs modeled on all human attributes. This uncontrolled superintelligence evolves rapidly and is fully illustrated in modern society until, in 2055, an AI detonates a nuclear warhead above Los Angeles, killing millions of people. In response to the KO and to prevent the extinction of humanity, most countries are waging an all-out war against AI. However, they come up against the firm resistance of New Asia, who continue to live harmoniously with the humanoids. It is now 2065 in Nang, New Asia. A squad of US Army Special Forces is on an operation to assassinate Nirmata, a mysterious genius architect behind the out-of-control progress of AI. In their assault, they are supported by the USS Nomad, a formidable destructive space weapon capable of launching attacks with unparalleled precision. United and fulfilled, in a moment of sharing, the undercover agent of the American Army, Sergeant Joshua Taylor, is with his pregnant wife, Maya Fey. The American Army suspects her of being the daughter of Nirmata. Suddenly, a violent noise at night disturbs them, and, with a prisoner, the Simulating soldiers, led by Harun, a loyal ally, arrive at their home. The captive is immediately horribly interrogated by the defense present, but the emergency requires them to evacuate the premises without delay. Taking advantage of the knockout to stay with the prisoner, Taylor feigned execution, then told him that he needed more time to locate the target. In the middle of a radio exchange with his superiors and under heavy fire from the assault, he is surprised by Maya, totally upset by the discovery of the sergeant's betrayal. In a frantic race, she flees to the boat supposed to evacuate them, but before the helpless eyes of the sergeant, she is pulverized by a devastating strike from Nomad. No! 5 years later, Taylor is working on the Ground Zero cleanup crew in Los Angeles. While he is carrying out detections among the rubble and corpses, a panicked AI restarts in a very agitated manner, forcing the sergeant to neutralize it before the shocked eyes of his subordinate. The mass destruction of these humanoids nevertheless inspires a cruel and destabilizing technological genocide. Despite the cutting-edge medical treatment provided by Dr. Thankey, Taylor often wakes up suddenly from very eventful nightmarish nights, where the poignant memory of his late Maya inexorably haunts him. The bond was powerful, the moments unique. She carried their child, their future, and until the end, the truth about him was hidden from her. Guilt eats away at him, and his memory consumes him to the point of often bringing tears to his eyes. One night, while seeking peace of mind by enveloping himself in aquatic immersion, he is approached by General Andrews and Colonel Howell, who immediately suggests that he join a dangerous secret mission. The objective is to destroy a formidable new weapon designed by Nirmata, Alpha O. She is capable of destroying the USS Nomad and thus able to tip the scales of the war in favor of the AI. The general and the colonel are in disarray, so, Machiavellian and manipulative, they miserably convince the soldier by showing him a video showing his beloved Maya alive and well. Swimming in blackmail, they suggest to him that he could find her on the condition that he joins the mission in the rebel zone. The next morning at dawn, the mission briefing is done aboard a supersonic support aircraft heading for New Asia. The attack will be led by Commander McBride, who, during the flight, inexhaustibly motivates his troops who are equipped with the latest assault technologies. The USS Nomad, the threat from the sky, is already flying over the area, sweeping it with its deadly beams like an aerial predator on the hunt. The squad therefore arrives in New Asia and immediately begins the hunt for Alpha O. They progress in a state of maximum alert in this lush nature full of life, and their steps quickly lead them to a village built on the laboratory. The threatening interrogation is immediately launched on a terrified and isolated village population, a lone prey to this armed threat, but who courageously do not denounce. Suddenly, Joshua's attention is drawn to a statuette, which turns out to be the command to open the hatch leading to the laboratory. The attack is bloody in this enclosure, where engineers are busy with advanced technological work. The distress and the knockout caused by his men appeal to the sergeant, who does not recognize himself in these despicable acts, devoid of any humanity inside and outside. However, the team arrives at the last secure door protecting the dreaded weapon, Alpha O. Being skilled at cracking the access codes for this type of lock, they manage to open it without delay. Separated from the rest of the attack team, Taylor manages to enter the compound supposed to contain the weapon, but only discovers a robotic simulant in the form of a young girl. Hearing footsteps coming, Joshua thinks he sees Maya but is shot by a fleeing engineer. This frees the young girl, who immediately goes outside, where the heavy fire of the attackers rages. Beyond the sudden human losses, the evacuation of the premises was done in haste because the strike planned by the USS Nomad was imminent. Making her way through the crossfire, a latecomer manages to climb into the evacuation shuttle at the last minute. The relief is short-lived because an explosion pulverizes the device. A magnetic grenade had been thrown at him during his escape. The sweeping laser beams then illuminate the area, and before the helpless eyes of the survivors, the strike destroys its target, propagating a devastating shockwave. In the cool of dawn and still dizzy from the previous night, Joshua is surprised by the robot, which innocently teases him, showing his trust. Under threat from Asian police forces, the sergeant goes on reconnaissance and finds his teammate Shipley in bad shape and shocked. The three survivors find refuge in a building built among the green fields of crops raked by the drones. In a totally unexpected way, while the young girl, pretending, is watching television, the sergeant is surprised to discover that the cyborg child is endowed with an extraordinary ability, allowing him to control technology remotely. Surprisingly, Colonel Howell quickly managed to establish communication and expressly ordered him to eliminate the child. An armed farmer who had heard the call ringing in the fields intervenes unexpectedly and falls into ecstasy upon seeing the child pretending. He did everything to save this little miracle. He was ready to kill for her, hence the gunshot which rings out and puts the police simulants on maximum alert. Taylor, who fired first, recovered the vehicle keys from the farmer, then organized their escape in a van parked in the garage. On the lookout, the local police place themselves in ambush and machine gun the building without warning, where they also find a very playful dog. He throws a grenade to exterminate them, but the animal seizes the grenade in its mouth and brings it back to its launcher for their greatest misfortunes. The child uses his power and starts the vehicle. Taylor disobeys orders, and so the three travel to find Taylor's former commander Drew in the town of Lelat. The trip is stopped by Shipley, who, full of questions, breathes his last breath in the back seat. The music and the sound of an approaching vehicle alert them. Taylor covers the one he affectionately calls Alfie with a hat to hide her robotic nature. The family who comes to meet them agrees to take them to town, but immediately after their departure, Colonel Howell and Commander McBride are on the scene. They immediately take out the bodies of Shipley and the simulant Omni Sergeant Boy to extract information from the dead man's consciousness. After the shock of waking up, he tells them that the weapon was with Taylor before finally dying. Now, under a search warrant for high treason, the family vehicle arrives at the checkpoint in the town of Lelat. The forces present immediately proceeded to check the vehicle, and while it was about to be unmasked, Alfie produced a new miracle by causing a blackout, which offered them the possibility of escaping from this trap and driving to all speed towards the city. Hearing the search call, Howell and McBride rush towards the city, while Omni Sergeant Bowie finds them similarly inanimate. In the bus station where the omnipresent police force patrols, the duo talks and manages to board a bus bound for Lelat. The journey takes place in a peaceful, calm landscape where people live in harmony with nature. For the sergeant, the memory of Maya, to whom he lied for a long time, is constant and inexorably accompanies him. However, Alfie comforts him in his presence and makes him feel good and trustworthy. Once under the city lights, they see their wanted notice displayed prominently on giant screens. The start lights alated in the streets of the city. A man identified them and immediately called the police to report their presence. Their steps lead them to a factory where, to the loud laughter of the operators, machines produce cyborgs with a disconcerting human appearance. Warmly welcomed, they find Taylor's friend, the patriot Drew, who with his assistant Kami, immediately shows a strong interest and curiosity for the child. Examining the child, Drew is totally transfixed. He confesses to Taylor that she is capable of becoming the most powerful weapon on the planet because her abilities to control technology will grow exponentially. Kami takes the child with her to Drew's private apartment, while Jozuha contemplates a robot cremation identical to that of the humans who considered them as their equals. Suddenly, an unusual police commotion animates the streets and the air around the building. Alfie tells Kami that she feels that the police forces are coming to capture her. Impersonating a delivery man, Sergeant Bui, Sec-On, traps Mia with a remotely detonated explosive. The new Asian police attack Drew's apartment, killing his fake girlfriend Kami, as Howell and squad member McBride close in. The sergeant has the situation under control and prepares to follow orders. Executed the child. Under a hail of projectiles, Taylor saves Alfie at the cost of an incredible fight. Drew doesn't even have time to feel sorry for the deceased Kami when, suddenly, Howell and McBride burst into the apartment and sneakily kill all the police force present. However, the trio escape, and with Drew's help, Taylor locates Maya's long-range tagged ring. Equipped, he invades the scene in search of the ring, but Drew does not take long to panic on the microphone because Alfie alerts him to the imminent arrival of their enemies before extricating himself from the vehicle to help Taylor. The latter ends up finding the ring in the water, but he is immediately overcome by an avalanche of memories which disturb him emotionally. As the forces approach, the child joins him and tries to wake him from his torpor. At the cost of a frantic race, Drew joins them to warn them, in vain, because bursts fired from the air strafe them abundantly and fatally hit him. Before he dies, he tells Taylor that the raid 5 years ago happened because of intelligence gathered that Maya was near Mata. Taylor and Alfie attempt to flee but are captured by Neo-Asian forces led by Haroon, a soldier pretending to be Taylor's former ally. Aboard a levitating maritime craft, Taylor is taken prisoner in a hold. He is joined by Haroon, who states that the Los Angeles atomic explosion was caused by human coding error and that the US government has unfairly placed the blame on AI, which only wishes to peacefully coexist with humanity. Then, as he points his weapon to kill the sergeant, a powerful detonation surprises the entire crew who can do nothing against the USS Nomad, which destroys one of their base. In the turmoil, Alfie goes down into the hold and manages to free Taylor from the dire fate that was reserved for him. Under Harron's attack, the sergeant managed to jump into the water and hide under the boat, which was well attached to a drift net. Once arriving at the city, Taylor furtively observes the life of these peaceful and innocent villagers. He hears that Alfie was created to end the war, and that she has the power to neutralize the USS Nomad if she is on board. Observe and note that these populations are in resistance and are fighting for the freedom and peace of their descendants. Taking advantage of the night and the villagers' sleep, the soldier, very experienced in stealth, grabs a weapon and moves silently towards Haroon and the child. He immediately deactivates the simulant and saves Alfie, preparing to flee aboard a boat while sirens sound, warning that an attack on the community is imminent. Reactivated by his second, Haroon rushes to the outpost and under a cloud of smoke, which does not bode well, organizes the defense with the available means. Heavy rumblings vibrate the ground, trees waver and are uprooted by something gigantic. Bursting like the apocalypse, a huge American army tank equipped with formidable firepower mercilessly bombards villagers overwhelmed by its weapons. The scene without death on all sides and the fugitives are massacred with impunity. However, a simulant manages to trap the device using a grenade activated remotely by a fighting monkey, while a simulant sacrifices himself to save humans in distress. To accentuate the offensive, Colonel Howell orders these troops to activate a kamikaze G-13 robot loaded with explosives. He rushes like an American football player, and manages to cross the defense lines despite the heavy fire of the resistance to finally neutralize an entire regiment of soldiers. A second kamikaze is launched, but Alfie stands in front, and to everyone's surprise, the robot bows. Cowardly McBride kills the child before being himself killed by an upset Taylor, who is now committed to the cause of the resistance. Under the heavy bombardment which left no one behind in the battle, and in order to try to save the child, it was agreed to bring them to Nimrata. During the trip, Harun confides in a Taylor who is closer than ever to the child that Maya conceived Alfie while she lived with him. The genetic information of the embryo, the fruit of their intense love, was scanned in utero and replicated identically for the programming of Alfie, who is therefore his daughter. She is rushed to Maya's home where, in a sanctuary of peace among the altitude of the mountains, a Buddhist community welcomes them. Against all expectations, Taylor discovers that Maya is in a coma being treated by simulant monks. Because they cannot harm Nimrata, she is stuck and unable to die. In absolute distress, Taylor removes Maya from life support, while Howell and his forces arrive determined to put an end to it. The colonel arrives at the compound and shows extreme coldness by despising the deceased Maya and threatening the sergeant to shoot her like a dog. They are killed by Harun, who tells Taylor that Nomad must be destroyed for the war to end. The sergeant acquires the memory of his beloved and flees the scene at full speed, but the American forces recover them to evacuate them from the scene, while the Buddhist city is destroyed by a powerful strike from the USS Nomad. Taylor and Alfie are therefore captured by American forces and taken to Fort Valor in the city of Los Angeles. Under threats from General Andrews, who fails to neutralize the child, Taylor is forced to kill his own daughter with an electromagnetic pulse weapon. He fakes the action and fools the audience by simply disconnecting the simulant and succeeds in obtaining the crucial information that the child must be transported and cremated to Ground Zero, where he can be present. However, Andrews later discovers that this is a ruse, and the child uses his power to crash the vehicle carrying them. The duo escape before Alfie can be cremated, sneaking out and making their way to the interplanetary airport in Los Angeles. Thanks to the child, they cross the robotic access points and manage to board a lunar shuttle. As the sergeant had rightly anticipated, the aircraft suddenly turned around because the crew had been informed of their presence on board. Once again, Alfie shines and, thanks to his gift, forces the spaceship to dock with the space station. The security forces filter the passengers who are hastily evacuating the lunar shuttle. The assault is given in order to capture the fugitives as quickly as possible, but once again, Taylor is one step ahead. Equipped with a spacesuit, he opens the doors of the device and the whole squad is sucked into the space. Vacuum. At the same time, Andrews orders a full-scale assault on the remaining AI bases across the world. Seeing that the station's missiles are being triggered, Taylor plans to plant a timed explosive and orders Alfie to deactivate the ship's power. Launched into an epic race against time while the missiles continue to be armed and fired, Alfie manages to get to the strategic control point and uses all his power to successfully stop the activated firing phase to the great damnation of the forces. American Army. This period of time allows Taylor to position the explosive charge before the firing procedure resumes again. However, Alfie goes to the Artificial Intelligence Research Zone and, a twist of fate leads her to the simulant in the image of Maya, who she immediately names Mom, while the rain of fire coming from the sky hits the Earth targets. Remaining. The sergeant constantly calls his daughter to save him because his oxygen reserve is about to run out. The girl painfully drags the Maya simulant to a lush green greenhouse on the station and inserts a memory chip containing information that Howell had downloaded from Maya's brain just after her death. The child then managed to save Taylor by pulling him to a pressurized airlock and also started the procedure for launching the escape capsule. Before Taylor can get to the escape pod, Andrews activates a tentacle robot that blocks her entry as the threat hovers on the resistance of New Asia. Alfie manages to neutralize the tentacle robot, but the capsule door is locked, and Taylor is forced to leave his tearful daughter to survive alone, ejecting the vehicle with her inside. As the USS Nomad explodes in gigantic detonations, Taylor kisses the simulant with Maya's image, and in each other's arms, they are already far from this reality. The debris of the ruined station falls to the earth under the cheers of the resistance, which manifests an immeasurable joy and deliverance in the face of the fall of the army which prevented all peace. Alfie returns to Earth and, crying tears of joy, sees the people celebrating the destruction of Nomad while cheering her as Nirmata. Thank you for enjoying this exciting film with us. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell. See you soon on Storytime.